Good evening. Thank you for your patience. Our closed session ran a little over tonight, so I apologize for starting late. But as we had a closed session, the meeting was already called to order. So we'll begin with some comments from the superintendent.
Good evening, everyone. To a member of our audience, good evening. Three items I just want to mention this evening. Tonight, West Windsor PD put out a Nixle alert, which was sent at the same time as a message that I sent to all parents in West Windsor and Plainsboro for all 10 schools. On Friday evening, a family came forward approximately 6 o'clock at night and brought forward a concern of potential luring at one of our bus stops. It was over at the Muse apartment complex. So again, we are aware, we're working with West Windsor Police. We put out a reminder to parents just to remind their children around safety concerns, making sure that they're with groups, making sure that they're reporting concerns to parents, to trusted adults. And again, if there's any information or any concerns, they should notify the West Windsor Police Department or any member of the school administration, school faculty, so that we can provide support. And if there's any concerns, parents should definitely bring their children forward to guidance or administration to provide support. Also, today, residents within the 200-foot boundary to High School South should be receiving letters regarding a LOI or letters of interpretation for wetlands. I sent an email to the board earlier today just to provide an overview of what that is. But when you have a property that's in a direct perimeter or a connection to water lines, you have to have a letter of interpretation of what the boundary lines are and what you can and can't build on for wetlands designation within the school. So our engineers prepared a letter for Dr. Russo. Dr. Russo signed it and it's sent out and you have a notification. And that's a 5-year plan or 5-year letter of interpretation once it's received by the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection. So once that is issued, and it's necessary as we begin site work and schematic design for High School South, you have to have one of those letters of interpretation on file. So as we're working through the summer and into the fall to build out and understand what the site parking lot would look like with some redesigned entrances, with the physical layout of where the building's going to go, we must have an LOI on file with an NJDEP. So that's what that letter is and why families might be noticed. It's not to say we're doing anything in particular or that we're doing anything in violation. It's that we have to notify families that we're asking for that interpretation. And the third item I just want to note is, and we'll have an opportunity to celebrate these individuals at next month's district celebration, but our educators of the year have been announced. So Jen Bard, teacher over at High School North, Denise Beer over at Millstone River, Tina Carr, Maurice Hawk, Dennis Cassidy, Grover Middle School, Don Hutchinson, High School South, Laurel Levy, Town Center Elementary School, Jill Marsh, Community Middle School, Pema Nadong, Dutch Neck Elementary School, April Sheffield here at Village, and Rashmi Wheeler over at Wyckoff Elementary School. Our congratulations to all educators of the year, and we look forward to celebrating you at next meeting's district celebration. Thank you.
Thank you. That brings us to our first opportunity for public comment. The board invites thoughts and reactions on agenda items and items of concern from the member of our community who is present. Each participant is asked to give his or her name and address prior to making a statement, which will be limited to 3 minutes. All statements shall be directed to the presiding officer. You're good? And then I will close the public comment portion of our meeting for now, and we'll start with some committee reports. We'll begin with administration and facilities.
Okay, good afternoon. The A&F committee met on May 21st. We reviewed a number of policies. The policy on transgender students, we decided that we need some more information, and we're not bringing forward to the board yet. But we are bringing forward for the second reading, the policy and regulations for administering an opioid antidote, the policy and regulations for school district security, and the policy covering benefits for non-affiliated community education staff. Next, and the transgender students policy, we're going to review at our next committee meeting and probably discuss it further. We had an update on the safety and security. The wiring construction for new cameras, strobes, message boards, and phones is complete in all 10 buildings, and devices have been installed. The door access control is also complete, and currently the vendors, Matrix and Millennium, are working to confirm the communications between the devices prior to testing in June. The district school safety specialists will work closely with the technology department to create and schedule after-school testing of the new features. And testing may include the EDP staff and students, so parents will be notified in advance. A new Class 3 officer was added last week at Town Center Elementary. Currently, 8 of the 10 schools have an assigned Class 3 officer. Screening and interviewing continues in both Plainsboro and West Windsor to select officers for the day shifts at Wyckoff and Village. And we had a update on the referendum projects. The fire alarm systems, the design work is complete for all of the buildings. Phase 1, including Hawk, Town Center, Village, and South Community. That's Phase 1. Community, Dutch Neck, Maurice Hawk, and Millstone will also get new fire alarm systems. The Phase 1 installation is planned for the summer of 2019, and Phase 2 will be coordinated with the construction at South Community and Wyckoff. Phase 3, which is Dutch Neck and Millstone River, will happen in 2020. Design work on the generators is complete and is now out to bid. The pre-bid meeting for Phase 1, which will include Grover, Millstone River, Village, and Community, was held in mid-May, May 17th. Phase 2, which includes South, will be coordinated with the new construction. The HVAC construction documents are underway, and the bidding project is scheduled for July of 2019. Major design work for the additions at Grover and Community are complete, and construction documents are being prepared and are approximately 60% complete. Town Center and Hawk additions continuing to make progress. The interior walls and windows, plumbing, HVAC, and electrical systems are being installed. We also have on the, we also reviewed the medical contracts for Dr. Raymond and Nadelman for the 2019-2020 school year, and that's on your agenda today for a vote. The equity planning team determined that in June of the current year, there'll be an introductory equity presentation activity for all staff during the May-June faculty meetings at each school. The district will also host an Ed Camp for Equity and Inclusivity on June 8th, and several other professional learning opportunities related to equity during the summer. The committee reviewed a proposal for Matt Bellas, PhD, to provide a substance abuse prevention assembly for senior students at both North and South. The committee recommends the proposal for approval at today's meeting. And discussing the comprehensive equity plan, the committee reviewed the final draft of the 3-year comprehensive equity plan, which outlines responsibilities for achieving and maintaining compliance with all the state and federal laws governing equity in education programs. And the committee recommends the 3-year comprehensive equity plan for the 2019-2020 through 2021 through 22 years be approved at tonight's meeting also. Our next meeting will be on June 18th. Any questions?
Curriculum?
The curriculum committee met on May 20th. First, we reviewed some of the summer professional development opportunities for staff. We also discussed that every curriculum document is in the process of being updated to include ELA companion standards, 21st century careers and life skills, as well as technology in anticipation of QSAC, which is Quality Single Accountability Continuum. The content area supervisors are working on all curriculum documents to ensure that they are in compliance with the New Jersey Department of Ed requirements. This work will require an adoption of all curriculum documents in September. Next, we reviewed the revised job description for the teacher resource specialist for curriculum and instruction, 612, and we approved this description. We also recommend the adoption of 2 textbooks, one for the chemistry course called, at the high school level, Inspire Chemistry, grades 9 to 12, Student Edition 2020 by McGraw-Hill, and for the Honors Chemistry course, Chemistry Student Edition 2017 by Pearson. The teachers who will be teaching these courses and the supervisor evaluated all textbooks available at these levels and followed the established protocols for textbook adoption. The committee recommends authorization of the 5th year of a 5-year agreement with the Middlesex County Regional Education Services Commission to provide administration of non-public funds for non-public school students within the district in accordance with the State Board of Education guidelines as required. The committee recommends authorization of 1-year technology agreements with the following vendors: Exemplar Libraries to provide online resources for district-wide K-5 math instruction and Spanish translations from June 1st, 2019 through May 31st, 2020 at a cost of a little over $9,200. Go Guardian for teachers to provide monitoring software from July 1st to June 30th. At a cost of $25,500. Raptor Technologies to provide Eyes on the Door software and support from July 1st to June 30th at a cost of $5,400. The Gaggle Safety Management for Google to provide alert monitoring software from the same time period at a cost of a little over $46,600. JAMF to provide management of apps and software on Apple devices from the same time period at a cost of $15,952. West Interactive Services Corporation to provide school messenger web hosting services, content management, and unlimited notification services for the 2019-20 school year at a cost of $20,922. The committee also recommends entering into an agreement with Northwest Evaluation Association to supply web-based measures of academic progress, or MAP, in math, reading, and language arts assessment for students in English and in Spanish. The cost of materials through June 2020 is approximately $67,122.50. As part of an ongoing media center collection management, the committee recommends approval of the disposal of obsolete items in accordance with Regulation 7300.1 as follows: 415 books from the High School South Media Center and 380 books from the Millstone River Media Center. All items meet one or more of the criteria that they are either so worn or damaged as to preclude effective use and economical repair or restoration, and or so outdated they no longer serve as worthy instructional tools, or, although still useful, materials have been superseded by superior replacement materials. The committee also recommends approval of the contract with the Asia Society Center for Global Education to provide training sessions, coaching, and instructional resources on global competence during the 2019-20 school year at a cost not to exceed $53,900. 2 teacher advisors will accompany middle school and high school students to National History Day at the University of Maryland in College Park, Maryland in June. The cost is not to exceed $1,867 per teacher, and the committee recommends approval of this travel. Also, 2 teacher advisors will accompany the middle school and high school students to the Future Problem Solvers National Competition at the University of Massachusetts in Amherst in June. The cost is not to exceed $584 per teacher, and the committee also approves this travel. And the committee also recommends approval of professional development opportunities. One social studies teacher to attend the 2019 Global Impact Challenge, No Barrier educator training at the No Barrier Summit in California in June. No cost to this program for the district. 2 language arts teachers to attend an AP English Literature and Composition Summer Institute in Ocean County, New Jersey, in July at a cost of $1,199 plus mileage. The committee also recommends the approval of an overnight field trip for High School North Euro Challenge students to attend a ceremony in honor of placing second in the nation for the Euro Challenge at the Estonia Embassy in Washington, D.C. in June. There is no cost to the district for this. We will next meet on June 18th.
Are there any questions about curriculum? We'll move over to finance.
Okay. The Finance Committee met on May 21st. The committee reviewed and approved the proposed agenda items for tonight's board meeting. This includes many contract renewals, such as for liability and workers' compensation insurance, Aramark for facility maintenance services and Advocate, and for bus maintenance service with East Windsor. It also includes approving rates for many professional services, such as attorneys, engineers, architects, and financial advisors. A substantial portion of the finance section of the agenda is the annual procurement list, which consists of the statute-required renewal of co-ops and state contracts. The agenda includes approval of the new lunch rates. The price of a lunch will be $2.65 for grades 1 through 5 and $3 for grades 6 through 12, which is an increase of 15 cents from last year. We are transferring capital project interest income to be used for debt service. At our June 11th meeting, we will be discussing several SDA grant closeouts from 2010 ROD grants that should net us approximately $268,000, and we will be transferring some funds into capital reserve from the general fund. The district is in the process of selecting a vendor for our food services. Interviews were conducted on May 23rd. Only one firm submitted a proposal. That firm is Sodexo, which currently provides our food services. Snyder Electric provided an update on the ESIP, Energy Savings Improvement Program. They are in the process of conducting investment-grade energy audits of our facilities. They are also exploring the concept of power purchase agreements for the district. Under such an arrangement, the district would go out to bid for a vendor to provide and install solar energy systems on district property, and the district would purchase that energy at a price considerably below what we are paying now. Such agreements are typically for 15 years. The vendor would cover the initial capital expenses and recoup that through the district's purchase of energy from the vendor. The district would save money by paying much less for the energy that we need to run our facilities. The committee was generally supportive of the concept, particularly roof-mounted solar. Snyder Electric will proceed with the design work needed to create an RFP for a power purchase agreement. Staff reported that on June 13th, there will be a board retreat to review goals in the equity plan. There will also be an equity presentation from Dr. Eddie Fergus. Staff reported on a plan to create a small modification to an open area near the front entrance of High School South to create 2 offices, one for school security and one for attendance. And the committee will next meet on Tuesday, June 18th.
Are there any questions about finance? All right, we're going to move on to the voting portion of our agenda. Before we get a motion on the administration items, I'm going to toss it over to our board attorney for some information.
Yeah, there's just 2 items to just add in addition to what is on the agenda for tonight. The first is for administration, item number 2, to add the case under the identifier GMS 0429190001, and to add an additional item, A12, which is resolved by the board. Oh, excuse me, one second. I wrote it out so I wouldn't have to do it off the top of my head. Resolved by the board to affirm the HIB findings and deny the parental appeal as heard in executive session. Those are the only additions.
Thank you. So the administration items, I need a motion on items 1 to 12, 12 being what Mark just added on, plus this blue addendum. Tony and Martin, are there any questions on the administration items? Carol?
On number 7, about renewing the records UPHC, Therapeutic Support Services, how many counselors would that be?
That is 4 counselors. Yes. That's the increase from the 2 to the 4 that we budgeted. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Okay, we'll start with Mr. Chang.
Yes.
Mr. Flores.
Yes.
Ms. Hertz. Ms. Ho.
Yes.
Ms. Krug.
Yes.
Mr. Whitfield. Mr. Zhang.
Yes.
Ms. Juliana. Ms. Case.
Yes. Can I please get a motion on the curriculum and instruction items 1 to 8? Dana and Carol, are there any questions on the curriculum items? Yep.
Number 5, the MAP testing. Could you please explain what tests will be new for next year that we haven't had before, and what grade levels that will affect?
So number 5, the MAP assessment. So the MAP assessment, we use the math test for 1st grade through 7th grade for all students. We use the language arts assessment for all students in special education, K through 12. And we use the MAP for Fluency next year for all 1st grade students and all 2nd grade students who will be new to the district. So the MAP for Fluency, which we piloted this year, which will go into effect next year, is for all 1st grade students and any new student to the district in 2nd grade. MAP for Fluency is an early literacy assessment, which gives an assessment of whether or not students have the foundational skills for the beginning of reading. So phonological awareness is a large piece of what goes there, but segmentation is another piece of it, an ability to pick up rhyming words, those kinds of things. So it's a very early assessment at the beginning to see if there's any early indicators of students who are maybe having some foundational skills difficulty with becoming readers.
When you're talking about the MAP test for grades 1 to 7, is that covering just math or just reading or both or what?
Just the 1st through 7th is just math
Just math, okay,
for all students.
okay. And for special ed, is it,
Special education uses it for both language arts and for mathematics,
okay,
K through 12.
thank you.
In special education, it's part of the progress monitoring that they do. So that's why they determined that they wanted it for all students and they wanted it in both content areas.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll start with Mr. Flores.
Yes.
Ms. Hertz. Ms. Ho.
Yes.
Ms. Krug.
Yes.
Mr. Whitfield.
Yes.
Mr. Zhang.
Yes.
Mr. Cheng.
Yes.
Ms. Juliana.
Yes.
Ms. Case.
Yes.
Yes.
Got it, number 7.
Okay. Finance. Could I get a motion on agenda items 1 to 28? Louisa and Taylor? Are there any questions or comments?
Okay, we'll start with Ms. Hertz. Ms. Ho.
Yes.
Ms. Krug.
Yes.
Mr. Whitfield.
Yes.
Mr. Zhang.
Yes.
Mr. Cheng.
Yes.
Mr. Flores.
Yes.
Ms. Juliana.
Yes to everything, but on number 19, I have to abstain on the technology, New Jersey Digital Readiness for Learning and Assessment Project.
Yes. And Ms. Case.
Yes.
Okay.
Personnel items 1 to 4, plus the green addendum. And then also, on number 3, the comprehensive equity plan. There's just some corrections that appear on the blue paper that we got. Charity, did you want to say something, or no? No. No. All right, so can I get a motion on 1 to 4, plus the green addendum, plus the blue addition, or correction, supplement? Isaac and Taylor. Are there any questions?
I have some questions about this equity plan. It says there's a Be Kind Like Josh campaign in K to 3. Can you explain what that is?
Are you referring to section 1? Or, no.
This is school climate,
School climate.
safe and positive learning environment. For K to 3, it says there's a Be Kind Like Josh campaign. I was just wondering what that is.
Many of our schools have programs in place to emulate positive characteristics. The Be Kind Like Josh, I can't speak to particularly, but
Okay.
it's one that is noted from one of the schools.
Do
We have
you-
several. We do have
Okay.
several in all the schools.
My other question is, in grades 4 to 5, it says elements of the responsive classroom are taught and practiced in classrooms. Do you know what a responsive classroom is? What does that mean?
Yes. Right. I'm just trying to locate where you are in the plan, because we have some of the themes located several times throughout.
Yeah.
Is there a page number in here? This is right below the Be Kind Like Josh. It's under school climate and culture.
Martin, do you want to maybe speak a little bit about responsive classroom? Responsive classroom?
Sorry, I just wasn't sure where we were referring to. So Responsive Classroom is a program that's been in place within the district probably at least 15, 20 years. And it's a program which looks at working with students to be able to develop their social emotional learning skills along with their academic skills. Many teachers have been trained within the program. It's a K-5 program. It's been nationally recognized for decades at this point in terms of being effective to be able to develop students' capacity to access learning. So it deals more with the social emotional lens in terms of their ability to join in, be a part of a group, manage transitions within the classroom. But there's a whole set of materials that the teachers have access to and that they've been trained in. We actually currently have a teacher who's going for responsive classroom certification training so that she can be a certified responsive classroom trainer.
Also, I'm not sure what category this is in. It's extracurricular programs. It says that there's a Title I program, after school enrichment. This is grade 4 and 5. After school enrichment in language, arts, and math. And what does that entail?
Yeah, so at the 4th and 5th grade level, there's Title I tutoring support that becomes offered for extra tutoring. It simply is students are identified based on needs recommended by teachers and counselor, and then we board approve teachers to work additional hours, after school hours. Families are notified, contracted to determine whether they'll agree for their children to come for extra tutoring support, and it's additional funds that are provided specifically for working with identified at-risk students as determined by the district under the federal guidelines.
The other question I have is this is reduction or prevention of underrepresentation of minorities. It talks about placement procedures and a gentry model. Can you explain what that is?
Sure. So the Gentry model is a system for making decisions around placing students within classrooms, which attempts to develop heterogeneous grouping so that you don't group all of the students who are performing extremely well together in one group, and then all of the sort of middle performing students in another group, and all of the lowest performing students in another classroom. But it seeks to guide and develop a way to be able to develop heterogeneous classes while simultaneously restricting the full range of performance within the students so that a teacher isn't having to deal with the full potential range of students, but still has a class which has a mixed range of abilities within it. So we were fortunate enough, probably about 5 years, I want to say 5 or 6 years ago, when we started to look at our placement procedures at the elementary level, we started to read the work of Dr. Gentry, and really liked what she was saying, mainly because we do believe that all students are best served in heterogeneous environments that are least restrictive, and we felt we could do some work to improve the placement process. That year, she just so happened to be coming into the state to the New Jersey Association of Gifted Children as the keynote speaker, and we were able to send about 15 of our administrators to that conference that day, and because so many of us went, and because we had a little cohort of us who had paid the entrance fee, she agreed to meet with us in a separate session for about an hour and a half and really answer our questions based off of the reading that we had done. So out of that work about 5 years ago, we spent a lot of time with the elementary administration, along with our teacher resource specialists at the elementary level, working to ensure that our classes follow with fidelity her sense of putting students together in heterogeneous classes so that there's a range of ability, but simultaneously looking at what that full range would be so that any one teacher isn't having to deal with all of the different possibilities there.
What is, under that model, what is the range that would be in a classroom?
So her model specifically identifies students basically as she calls them 1s, 2s, 3s, 4s, and 5s. So 1 would be the highest performing students who are usually often identified for receiving services in gifted and talented programs or acceleration in their work. And then it just goes through from, 2 being just a little bit below that, good at school, but maybe not showing extraordinary. 3 sort of middle of the road. 4 students who can access the regular classroom instruction, but maybe need a little bit extra support to be able to do that. And 5 would be the students who probably struggle the most, and often you would find those students being in a basic skills program, or for example, at first grade in a reading recovery. So other additional services above and beyond. So she talks about sort of those different types of categories, and we have a process for looking at data, a range of data from students and a range of input from teachers, and then through that we make some determinations of who the students are, and then we make decisions about what the classroom makeup would be. Like, again, as I said, with the 2 aims or the 2 goals of both ensuring that no one single class is homogeneous, so it has all of the same type of student, but at the same time doesn't show the full range of students that you would possibly have.
Well, I'm just wondering, is there like a span, if you think of it in grade levels, of 2 grade levels or 3 grade levels in a class, or how does it work?
I don't think we can.
I mean, do
it's
you
no,
try
it's
to
not
make it
singular that way in the
Okay.
sense that, because what you can do is you can find, for example, a lot of work that will suggest that a student could be exceptional in one specific content area. For example, their reading may be exceptional, but maybe their writing and their math is not. So that's one type of student. And, again, even in mathematics, what we've seen is we've really delved into this over the last several years, is that students can show extraordinary abilities in certain topics in the mathematics program, but not necessarily in others. So you can't really just sort of blanketly sort of just say, well, this is because it's more complex than that, and that's why we have a whole range of data that we look at. But ultimately, you're looking at, saying this student in a variety of areas is demonstrating exceptional, and those are the students who are truly being classified as, and I don't want to say classified because It's just really for identification purposes so that we can cluster students together, because you don't want to have any student kind of be the only type of student in that. So we want to put groups of students, like students together, but then we don't want a class to be known as, well, if you're in that class, then everybody has to be gifted, because we believe that all students are served well by being in heterogeneously grouped classrooms. So, I mean, if you'd like, I could give you the book. It's about 200-300 pages long, and we've spent years studying it. And I will say, it took us quite a few years to get, I think, good at the process. It took a lot of revisiting what we were doing from year to year, and continuously leaning into being faithful and with fidelity. But over the years, we feel like we've been having a lot of success in terms of the model and the process for placement of students within the elementary classrooms. Again, ensuring, the goals are right up front. We want to make sure that we have heterogeneously grouped classrooms, but we also simultaneously want to be able to limit the range of performance so that teachers are able to meet the needs of all of those students within that classroom.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Okay, we'll start with Ms. Ho.
Yes.
Ms. Krug.
Yes.
Mr. Whitfield.
Yes.
Mr. Zhang. Mr. Cheng.
Yes.
Mr. Flores.
Yes.
Ms. Hertz.
Yes.
Ms. Juliana.
Yes.
Ms. Case.
Yes.
Madam President, just one point, just before we get to the minutes, just to note that the May 14 closed session minutes are not offered. They're not yet done. So just before we get to the motion for that, just so that it's letter C is just not being offered tonight.
So could I get a motion to approve the minutes as listed on the agenda, A and B? Martin and Louisa? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Are there any liaison reports? How about new business? Second opportunity for public comment. 15 minutes, 3 minutes will be provided at the end of the meeting for public comment. Each participant is asked to give her name. Anything? You got nothing? Okay. We're going to head it back into closed session, so I need to read a statement. Whereas the Open Public Meetings Act authorizes boards of education to meet in executive session under certain circumstances, and whereas the Open Public Meetings Act requires the board to adopt a resolution at a public meeting to go into private session, now therefore be it resolved by the West Windsor-Plainsboro Regional School District Board of Education that it is necessary to meet in executive session to discuss the superintendent's evaluation. Be it further resolved that in any discussion held by the board which need not remain confidential, will be made public as soon as feasible. The minutes of the executive session will not be disclosed until the need for confidentiality no longer exists. Be it further resolved that the board will not return to open session to conduct any business at the conclusion of the executive session. So can I get a motion to go into a closed session? Rachel and Louisa, all those in favor? We're going to take a 5-minute break, and thanks for coming out, Lori.